Hello, class. This is Drew Stegall, and today I'm going to go over impromptu speeches. This is a very important topic because impromptu speeches happen a lot more often than you would think. So an impromptu speech is a speech that's not really planned out, like are given little to no notice about the speech. So we've talked about the three methods of delivery. We've had manuscript, where you write everything down word for word, and that way you could print it out, give it to people. In fact, I went to I went to actually two or three churches where they did a manuscript style speech where they would read from the brochure word for word every Sunday. So in my mind, as a communicator, I was like, oh, there's no point in me sitting here. I could grab this little pamphlet and go, and I'd have his entire speech right there. Because the pastor, he wouldn't add anything to it. It was word for word. It was manuscript style. And so that made it a little boring, it made it a little monotonous, and he read from it. And so if you've read my notes, you don't read from your notes. You don't just sit there and read word for word. You look at it, you get reminded of what you're doing, and then you look back at your audience. So that's style number one, is manuscript. All of the other speeches in this class have been from memory. It's where you write out your speech in an outline style format. And in your outline, you write notes to help you remember what you were going to talk about. Okay. And you don't read it word for word, and you shouldn't be doing it right on the spot, right before class, because that is impromptu speaking. And that's the last method of delivery, is impromptu speaking. It's very important that you learn how to do it, because there's going to be times where you're probably going to get thrown under the bus and say, oh, I'm pretty sure you've already done this, where you were in a group project and one person from your group had a share, and so they all look at you, and then you're like, oh, yes, it's me. Get thrown under the bus, and you have to present in front of the class with little or no preparation. This is also important because all of the best leaders have some impromptu skills, especially impromptu speaking skills. If you're at a staff meeting, right, and they're asking for ideas, they're like, how can we do a better job? Now there's 5 to 10 people in that room, so about the size of our class, and they're looking like, how can we do better for you guys? How can we make it a better work environment for the staff? And that is an impromptu speech where you're like, hey, I know 3 things that would help improve the staff environment for this organization. And then whenever you are giving an impromptu speech, it shows that, hey, you're quick on your feet, you have potential, and odds are you're going to be elevated to leadership positions. I've had that happen to me several times, and I hope that you guys would have that happen to you. It's nerve-wracking. It's very scary. It's nervous. You're like, oh man, I didn't prepare anything. So it's important that you develop these skills. Some people have this natural skill. I've had several classes where most of their speeches were made 5 to 10 minutes before they actually spoke. And those are some of the best speeches I've heard. So some people have it naturally. And if you don't, that's okay, because all you got to do to fix it is practice. So we have a variety of topics for you guys this weekend. I believe we're speaking on Monday for this impromptu speech. So let's go over the formatting. It is 3 to 5 minutes long. Here's how you get where you can give a speech in 3 to 5 minutes, is practice. Google a topic, Google an impromptu speech topic, and try to write out a quick outline in 3 to 5 minutes, and then you present in 3 to 5 minutes. You just have to keep practicing and keep timing yourself. And that is how you would nail figuring out how long 3 to 5 minutes is. You are allowed to have your clock on the desk with you, and so that helps as well, but it needs to be 3 to 5 minutes. The topics, there's a variety of topics. Some of them are a lot of fun, like your best place to visit, your favorite friend in the world, a movie you like, but a lot of them are serious, is like, what are your thoughts on capital punishment? Should drugs be decriminalized or legalized? And so you need to be prepared for a little bit of a serious discussion or a fun topic. And no, there will be no redraws. Once you draw the one from the bucket, that's the one you get. So this is very important. Impromptu speeches for this class need to have the exact formatting as your other speeches. You do not need to present a formal outline. You don't have to turn in an outline for the speech. You can write notes whenever it's your time to prepare in the hallway, but I'm talking about the format of your speaking. You need to start off with a hook still. You need a hook in your audience. And this is the hardest for impromptu speeches. I've seen a lot of people where they just ask a question. So someone had a topic where it was decriminalizing drugs, yes or no? And they said, have you ever done drugs? And that was all their hook was. And we're in high school. And so of course, everyone there said no. Even if they did do drugs, they didn't want to tell the class, like, do you know what? I have done drugs. So you need to have a good hook, and a hook could be a good story or a statistic, because you're able to Google a quick statistic in the hallway if you have a phone with you there. So a statistic's good. So let's just pick on decriminalizing drugs. I'm going to pick marijuana. And so my hook would be a personal story about how drugs have affected my family. So my hook would go something like this. My uncle he was actually my great uncle. He was a Vietnam veteran. And during his time in Vietnam, he was introduced to marijuana. And he's a great guy. He's a friendly guy. But when he came back to the States, he hit the marijuana heavily. And you hear all the time that there's no side effects to weed. There's no side effects to marijuana. And if you keep hearing that, you're going to believe it. But my uncle, throughout his life, he got slower and slower, and he started to talk with a real drawl in his voice. Great guy. He was always really friendly, but you could tell that his mental state really deteriorated because of drugs. And he's been doing that since they've been completely illegal in every state. Hi, my name is Drew Stiegel, and today I want to talk about why marijuana should remain criminalized and illegal. And so there was my hook and my thesis. I told this story. I didn't go out and say, hey, have you ever thought about decriminalizing drugs? Don't ask a question. We want to hear something interesting. We need to be involved in your story. So statistic, a quote, a personal story. Personal stories are really good, especially for impromptu meetings, because everyone has had some kind of impact with drugs. Here's another example. I love skateboarding. I haven't gone in years, and the biggest reason I haven't gone is because my local skate park here in Dalhart, Texas, has become the home of drug dealers. I'm heavily involved with the schools now. I'm a youth pastor, and I know the cops in town. And so the cops have actually told me, it's like, hey, keep a lookout for a guy they call Donut. He hangs around the skate park and he sells drugs to kids as young as 3rd and 4th grade. And weed is illegal in Texas, and he's selling weed to kids in 3rd and 4th grade. Hi, my name is Drew Stiegel, and here's why I want to keep weed illegal. So tell a personal story. Everyone's had some kind of interaction with all of these topics. They're very broad, but that's you need to have a good hook. So back to what we're talking about, the format. You have to have a good hook. You have to state your thesis still, and then in your intro, you still have to say my first point, second point, third point, first, second, finally. You still have to have your 3 main points, not 4, not 5. You still have to have 3 main points. And when you're giving your main points during the body of your speech, you're going to say first, your whole little paragraph. Second, your whole paragraph. Finally, your whole third point. Okay. Then you resolve your hook. You finish what you were talking about. I would hate people to live and wind up the way my uncle did, where at the end of his life, he could hardly have a comprehensible thought. So that is why drugs should remain illegal. You see, like that. And you could pick either side. That was just my example there. But you have to finish your hook. Then you have to restate your thesis. Hi, my name is Drew Stiegel, and today I talked about why drugs should remain illegal. And then you restate your 3 points. Bum, bum, bum. for persuasive speeches, which a lot of these will be, or let's work on our conclusion a little bit. I've noticed we've had a little bit of an issue where we're like, and thank you, that's it. And we say our finally, and then we just end it right there, or you say thank you. So let's work on having like a closing statement. So for a good closing statement for decriminalizing drugs, it's like, I hope this speech today has encouraged you to vote to keep drugs illegal. And so there's a good closing statement there. Best movie. I hope this speech has encouraged you to watch this movie that I described. Or personal experience speech. I hope from this speech that you've learned not to do the same mistakes that I've done, or to ride a bicycle with a helmet so you don't get a concussion. Just close it with a closing statements, like, what's the point? What do you want me to do? And it's just one sentence. I want you to decriminalize drugs. I want you to watch this movie. I want you to not make the same mistakes I did if you're given a personal experience kind of a speech. Okay, so that is how you give an impromptu speech. It's 3 to 5 minutes long. There's several generators and copies online of impromptu speech topics, and that's how you practice. You Google one, you set a timer for 5 minutes, you write down 3 quick points. I've written down 3 quick points on napkins in staff meeting before it was my time to speak. So this is something that happens, and if you can develop this skill, some of you may have it already, but if you could really develop the skill, it's valuable. You're going to use it for the rest of your life. It's going to elevate you above your peers in the workplace, in classes. It's going to give you leadership positions. So I was actually brought up into leadership positions because I was willing to speak and speak on the fly when everyone else was silent. Even people older than me, even people that actually had good ideas, I'd hear their ideas, and then I would be able to be the one to present it. And even though I'd say, oh yeah, my coworker over here, they came up with a great idea, and then I'd say that idea, even though it was their idea, the management would look at me because I was the one willing to step up and speak about it. Impromptu speeches are very important for you to develop and learn how to do. It's going to elevate you into being just a better individual. So I hope this has helped you out today. Please be practicing 3 to 5 minutes impromptu speech. It's going to be lots of fun, and we'll see you on Monday.